Hey, so we have a sighting of Greenfield and St. Bart's on Ice Poseidon stream, and I would like to show a clip of that. I have both the version from Kick as well as a standalone independent video that I can share. So let's actually look at this, and this would be around 6 hours and 20 minutes is the timestamp. Let's play it.
These people, you know?
Of course.
Because all people is parano. Because Interpol don't say who is it, you know?
I mean, we only got scammed a little bit, but it's all right. I got it.
Dude, that guy started speeding.
I know. And you're right, Carl.
Ah, j'ai payé 100 € pour venir ici, les gars.
Are you the Americans?
Hey, what's up? Yeah.
We had written you off. Ça va?
This man is crazy.
Took us a long time to get here.
Well, because, I don't know.
Ah, finish what?
Ça va, ça va?
Not bonjour.
Okay, so this is a party in St. Bart's, one of the most wealthy islands in the world, one of the most wealthy places in the world. And, you know, the real question here is, why is Allison Greenfield hosting a party at a rental home for an organization called the, quote, Child Rescue Coalition, miles from Epstein's Island?
Bonsoir, I didn't think... Ça va? Okay.
Hello.
This man is crazy.
Hi, I'm Desiree.
Hi, Desiree.
What's your
Paul.
name?
Nice to meet
Hi,
you.
Paul. Nice to meet you.
Hey, how are you? I'm Carl.
Okay, so this is a nickname, Desiree, that she's using in St. Bart's.
Hi, Carl. Who did I talk to on the phone?
That was me.
Okay.
What part of America are you from?
I was born in Florida. I lived in New York.
Allison Greenfield, in an Independent Village Democrat club video, said that she was from Florida and had moved to New York later on.
For 11 years, and I am here. What about you guys?
So it's a little bit difficult here to go back like 10 seconds, but I'll do it in the standalone video.
Florida, live in Texas.
Are your
Okay.
are your parents French or something, or
Oh,
no? You just decided.
this is off, right?
No. I mean,
Definitely needs to be off.
oh, really?
I can pull out a couple of NDAs that we can handle.
Okay, so Allison/Desiree wants Ice Poseidon to turn off his camera. He's probably one of the most famous in real life streamers there is. and he's down in St. Bart's. By the way, Biden is in St. Croix, which is an adjacent island, mind you. But Allison wants Ice Poseidon to sign an NDA.
Properly, but
Oh, no, I don't want to do all that. I mean,
yeah, let's just turn it off.
Yeah.
well, I was under the impression that, because I'm trying to do
So why is Allison Greenfield demanding that Ice Poseidon turn his camera off and sign an NDA?
like a vlog of St. Bart's.
It's a vlog. It's recording, so it can be edited out. Or, we could do the NDA.
I mean, that was my impression, because I said,
How? What did you have any impression of what you're walking into tonight?
I mean, I didn't know what I was walking into.
How about we turn the cameras off and talk for 5 minutes and we figure out what we're gonna do?
Again, she wants Ice Poseidon to turn the camera off.
I mean,
Does that work, or you just wanna?
Okay, yeah, just turn it off on your phone. Just so.
I mean, yeah.
Or you can just leave. Those are the options.
I mean, if it's a private party, it's all
Well,
good.
it's my private house, so.
There's a lot of questions here.
Yeah, I mean, we could just leave. That's cool. I mean, I don't want to be like a burden or anything. I just was trying to.
No, but if you can't be here without filming, I mean, let's just
No, we
discuss
don't
it
have.
for.
Yeah, let's discuss it.
I'm saying, can you turn the cameras off for 2 minutes?
This is the third time that Allison/Desiree wants the cameras to be turned off.
And discuss it, or
Yeah. Okay, let me turn it off here.
And as you can see, camera was turned off, and now we're going to see a lost connection icon on the screen. And this goes on for several minutes. Let's play the... I want to make sure that this is viewable on the stream. Yes, it is. Okay, let's play this from the very start again, and I can stop it more precisely with this player.
Of course.
Because all people is parano. Because Interpol don't say who is it, you know?
I mean, we only got scammed a little bit, but it's all right. I got it.
Dude, that guy started speeding.
I know.
Like after.
And you're right, Carl.
Ah, j'ai payé 100 € pour venir ici, les gars.
Are you the Americans?
Hey, what's up? Yeah.
We had written you off. Ça va?
This man is crazy.
Took us a long time to get here.
Well, because, I don't know.
Ah, finish what?
Ça va, ça
No,
va?
not bonjour.
Bonsoir, I didn't say. Ça va? Okay.
Et vous?
Hello.
This man is crazy.
Hi, I'm Desiree.
Hi, Desiree.
What's your
Paul.
name?
Nice to meet
Hi,
you.
Paul. Nice to meet you.
Hey, how are you? I'm Carl.
Hi, Carl. Who did I talk to on the phone?
That was me.
Okay.
What part of America are you from?
I was born in Florida. Lived in New York for 11 years, and I am here. What about you guys?
Born in
Okay, so she said that she was born in Florida and that she spent 11 years in New York.
Florida, live in Texas.
Are your
Okay.
parents French or something, or
Oh,
no? You just decided.
this is off, right?
No.
Now she's demanding that the camera goes off and that Ice Poseidon signs an NDA. Why would you do that?
I mean,
Definitely needs to be off.
oh, really?
I could pull out a couple of NDAs so we can handle this properly, but
Oh, no, I don't want to do all that. I mean,
yeah, let's just turn it off.
You know, by the way, NDAs don't cover crimes.
Yeah.
well, I was under the impression that, because I'm trying to do like a vlog of St. Bart's.
It's a vlog. It's recording, so it can be edited out. Or, we could do the NDA.
I mean, that was my impression, because I said,
How? What did you have any impression of what you're walking into?
Is that Allison Greenfield right there? Sounds exactly like Allison Greenfield barking orders at Ice Poseidon. And you can see him, Ice immediately gets defensive,
Tonight?
I mean, I didn't know what I was
backs up, flips the camera downwards.
walking into.
How about we turn the cameras off and talk for 5 minutes and we figure out what we're gonna do?
I mean,
Does that work, or you just wanna?
Okay, yeah, just turn it off on your phone. Just so.
I mean, yeah.
Or you can.
And, why did all the YouTube streamers say that they were doing coke there? It was a coke-fueled orgy.
Just leave. Those are the options.
I mean, if it's a private party, it's all
Well,
good.
it's my private house, so.
Yeah, I mean, we could just leave. That's cool. I mean, I don't want to be like
She's renting the house.
a burden or anything. I just was trying
No,
to do.
but if you can't be here without filming, I mean, let's just
No, we
discuss
don't
it
have.
for.
Yeah, let's discuss it.
I'm saying, can you turn the cameras off for 2 minutes and discuss it, or?
Yeah. Okay, let me turn it off here.
Okay, what's also interesting too is I've captured all the chat comments, which will show here on screen if you can see it. Yep, you can. And if we kind of just look at all the chat comments, and just be like, okay, you can see everybody calling Greenfield a cow. And then a lot of people alarmed with this NDA situation. All right. I'm going to minimize that, and let's look at this thread from Reddit, which describes the situation pretty well. So this was a UNICEF gala for an organization called the Child Rescue Coalition. Again, this is literally miles away from Epstein's Little St. John's Island. And, you know, Biden is in St. Croix, which is the adjacent island right now. Oh, and then there are a bunch of other Epstein flight log people there, like John Legend, Chrissy Teigen. But what's interesting about this is that, according to ICE, the group were doing coke. There were some weird slides. And let me read this a little more carefully. Here it is. Okay, ICE returns to say Greenfield threatened to sue him and said things like, quote, "Do you know who I am and what I can do to you?" ICE clearly observed that the group were doing coke and then either engaging in sexual activity or having sex or talking about sex. So yeah, it's pretty serious. I could go through all those comments, but they actually make me sick, so I don't really want to read them. Switching gears into this main decision with your girl Sheena Bellows. Hello. She took Trump off the primary ballot on her own accord. Said, you know, I don't like Donald Trump, so he's not going to be on the primary ballot in Maine. State with a population, I think, of like 700,000 people, maybe a million. And what's interesting about this is, so she kind of based her, I had more time to think about this. She based her decision on this Colorado Supreme Court case that everybody knows, Anderson versus Griswold, which was kind of this first case that came through that took Trump off the ballot. And then we have a Westlaw citation here, December 19th, 2023. You notice how this is all coordinated, meaning that the challenges came in kind of right after this. I think I'd have to look at the rules, but in Maine, I think that the Secretary of State's office has 7 days to respond to a challenge and then 5 days to make a decision. And so, yeah, it was all coordinated in this sort of time frame, of course, around Christmas, right before the New Year, and then symbolically presented on January 6th, 2024. And so, yeah, anyways, that's not what I really want to talk about. I want to talk about the fact that, so this decision came down, Anderson versus Griswold, and they're using this as a way to say that Trump can't relitigate the fact that he was already taken off the ballot in Colorado. Now, Colorado's decision should not have any bearing whatsoever on Maine's case here with Trump, but they're using it as a way to sort of, you know, bludgeon the opportunity or the chance to be on the ballot, or you kind of like put this in the way of Trump's legal team. And it's totally unconstitutional. Whether you think this is issue preclusion or collateral estoppel, it's a violation of the Fifth Amendment, and it binds based on Section 1 of the 14th Amendment. And so this is another nugget I think that Trump's legal team can look at here and say that the issue preclusion is unconstitutional under the Due Process Clause that binds in the 14th Amendment based on the Fifth Amendment Due Process Clause. So, I didn't like laser go through this before. I was just kind of like looking. And typically that's how my mind works. I usually sort of like cycle through my thoughts to reanalyze what I saw, and then I read things again. And then there was something else in here I forgot to talk about, but let's see. Oh, the other thing I wanted to say here is that, so this is like what, over 30-page decision here by an unelected bureaucrat. Apparently in Maine, the Secretary of State is appointed. If this were me, and even if I had, not that I wouldn't, but let's just say theoretically that I was making a decision to take someone off the ballot and I wanted to write a decision like this, I would just write a 1 or 2 sentence summary decision, because this, if she wants to cite the Colorado decision, that's one thing. She could do that in 1 sentence and then have another sentence just basically to say that, Trump is off the ballot. Giving 33 pages here to everyone on the planet to analyze and make fun of her for, I think was pretty foolish, because I've watched a ton of live streams. I've seen Eli Koenig on CNN, who's a complete doofus most of the time. And he even said that this decision was faulty. That this decision did not really rest on the merits. And this whole statutory law coming out of Maine here is totally unconstitutional. And what the Secretary of State is actually doing is, because the Trump legal team has to go in aligned with the GOP. I'm not sure how that is working in Maine, but they're going to just basically invalidate this entire election law in Maine when this goes up to the Supreme Court. And they cite several provisions. A, that the 14th Amendment does not apply to the presidency, and that Section 5 confers those rights to Congress, not individual states or officials in those states. So they're going to get smacked down by the Supreme Court. That's very clear. So I just got a little anonymous comment here regarding our girl Allison Greenfield. Let me pull it up again. So if where is she? There she is. So if Allison Greenfield is doing this to Trump, why wouldn't she do this to ICE? If she's threatening him here, according to this thread, do you think that she would do this to ICE? Easily. Why is she at a coke-fueled orgy party? Apparently even Drake flew in to the gala. It's wild. Right. So yesterday I had forgot to mention that 14th Amendment Section 5 thing, so I did a little micro stream following the original sort of end of the mainstream. And let's see what else is there. There's actually another video of Sheena Bellows, I think on MSNBC or something, and she's reading from a script. And I want to bring that up here. Okay, well, let's look at this actually. This should be a little nugget.
If you were a United States Senator, would you vote to raise the minimum wage? I would, but Susan Collins didn't. How about equal pay for equal work? I would.
This is from 10 years ago.
Susan Collins didn't. Expanding veterans benefits?
She lost this race against Susan Collins.
Of course we would. Susan Collins didn't. You deserve a senator who will vote the way you would on the issues that matter to you and your family.
Wow. Doesn't she look kind of like a drone almost? An NPC staring aimlessly into the camera?
I'm Shanna Bellows, and I approve this message.
I don't know. Something's wrong with these people. I think they're being blackmailed or involved in drugs. I don't know, but I just sense it. Ooh, this just came out actually. Let's look at this. GOP suggests President Biden may have obstructed justice in son's defying subpoena. Okay, so they're really trying to connect everything up to Joe. And they're claiming, I think Hunter was actually at the White House either before or right after he gave that speech in front of the Capitol. So yeah, I mean, his dad probably told him not to comply with it. And then his dad is going to cite executive privilege. I'm still looking for this other Sheena Bellows video. Damn it. Oh yeah, she said that she was duty bound. I think this is it. Yep, got it. I'm duty bound to remove people from the ballot.
We want to go back to the big news that we brought you at the top of this hour. Donald Trump has been kicked off another presidential ballot, this time in the state of Maine, a decision that comes...
You know, so none of this stuff really matters, right? Because the Supreme Court's going to step in and say, hey, you know, stop messing around. People have a right to vote for whoever they want to. But they're kind of doing this, and I explained this yesterday, what I believe they are doing this for is to gain positive mainstream media coverage of themselves. So they're doing it for attention. And then the other reason they're doing this is to kind of create the breadcrumbs for suggesting that Trump is not eligible to be president, to be on any ballot. And then they're doing it to really kind of rub everything in the face of Trump voters. I had a word in my head, but now it's lost. They're doing this to deliberately disenfranchise the swath of Trump voters in their particular jurisdiction or their states, whatever.
10 days after the Supreme Court of Colorado ruled that Trump is disqualified from the ballot there due to his efforts to overturn the 2020 election that culminated in the insurrection at the Capitol on January 6th. Though that Colorado...
You notice how they always throw in this January 6th citation. Culminated in an insurrection at the Capitol. Total propaganda.
Colorado decision is on pause pending an appeal by the state Republican Party. There are 16 states that have been considering efforts to remove Trump from their ballots, including Michigan.
So now they're telling Michigan to remove Trump from the ballot. And they're telling, let's see, these yellow states apparently are those states that they're actually targeting. I mean, I don't even know why they have Texas on here. Ken Paxton has been probably the best attorney general in the country fighting some of this nonsense, and he isn't even fighting it hard enough. I know that he's going after Pfizer and stuff, but like, we have these very weak Republican conservative attorney generals in this country who refuse to do anything to help Trump, and no one stepped up aside from Elise Stefanik with respect to the Manhattan civil fraud trial. And that's another reason why I stepped up, just as an average person. And the Republicans should be going crazy. I mean, they should be smashing all this evidence in these officials' faces, especially in Goron in New York. Obviously he's corrupt, but the fact that they're attacking Trump in the way that they're attacking him, and now they're basically giving instructions to all these other states. Nevada, I mean, Nevada's a red state. Good luck there. But still, they're trying to do this, and they're trying to wear Trump out. They're trying to waste as much money that they possibly can. But then over and above that, they're creating this layer of mainstream media sort of PR. They're almost using this as a public relations campaign, while also sort of massaging their own careers, so to speak. Like, no one knew who Sheena Bellows was before this. No one really knew who Jenna Griswold was. I didn't. I know that many other people really didn't.
Supreme Court.
Oh, and the other thing here is, and it's really important, these women are childless. They have nothing to live for. Do I think Sheena Bellows is hot? I would say that she's well, let's see. Let's see how hot she looks in this interview.
Stay on the ballot in Colorado and Maine. Most of those are lawsuits working their way through the courts, but Maine's process was a little different. There, the arguments were made directly to the Democratic Secretary of State, Sheena Bellows. It was her decision to make. So we have her here. Sheena Bellows, the Maine Secretary of State, who signed off on that decision.
Okay, so Sheena Bellows is, I believe, about 9 years, maybe 10 years older than me, so maybe early 50s. I would say for 50, she is decent looking. Now, in these other YouTubers here 10 years ago, she does look hot. I'll give you that, anonymous source.
Joins me now. Secretary Bellows, thank you so much for joining us on All In this evening. I'm just going to ask.
But, she's reading from a teleprompter here. She's got a script in front of her face.
You up front. What went into making this decision? Was it your own research? Did you have a legal team together? Did you look at the Colorado decision? What was the process to come to the conclusion?
No, I just talked to Jenna Griswold, and she told me what to do.
That Donald Trump should be disqualified.
Do I think, but here's a better question, anonymous source. Do I think Jenna Griswold is hot? Yes, I do.
From being on the...
But they're both married. It's a little bit more harsh, though, for Sheena Bellows, because I think she's 50, and if she's childless at 50, I mean, that's the danger zone.
Main ballot.
Well, first, it's important, and thank you for having me.
And why isn't her husband, if she has one, and I think she does, insisting on the fact that they should have kids?
It's important to understand how Maine's process differs from other states. Under the United States Constitution, time, place, and manner, every state's laws around elections and the conduct of elections.
Okay, so she goes into this long-winded explanation, and she could really just say, I don't like Donald Trump.
Are slightly different.
That's why, for example, in neighboring New Hampshire, you see more than a dozen candidates in both the Democratic and Republican presidential primaries, whereas in Maine, we have a very different process. We had 2 Democratic candidates qualify for the presidential primary and less than a dozen candidates qualify for the Republican primary. Now, under the law, I first make a determination about ballot qualification. We accepted Trump's consent form and petitions to be placed on the primary ballot. However, any registered Maine voter may challenge the...
I feel like she changed the photos or paintings in the background here above her mantle. You can see a couple birds or yeah, they look like sort of like bronze bird statues, and then there's a plant. I don't know what this is. Maybe it's a horse or something. I don't know. But the painting here appears to be a rainbow or sort of an aerial geological map of Maine itself. And I believe in some of these other videos, I saw some other paintings actually. And it appears as though she swapped them out really quickly when this decision came through. And the other paintings that she had above the mantle were of, now I'm not a Harry Potter fanboy or anything, but someone said, multiple people actually said that it was a character that related to or was Lord Voldemort in Harry Potter. And if anybody, I don't know, again, I don't know that much about Harry Potter, but I do know that Lord Voldemort was the villain who tried to silence everyone. And that, obviously that would match exactly what Sheena Bellows is doing here.
Qualifications of any candidate within a 5-day period. And then I am required by law, it's an authority delegated to me explicitly by the Maine legislature to...
So here's the other thing. The state legislature in Maine apparently has delegated the authority for election decision making to decide on who is eligible to be on the ballot to the Secretary of State. Now, I'm assuming that in most states this depends, but generally speaking, especially in these Democrat states, they delegate this authority to one state official, just like they're doing here. Whereas I think the state legislatures could reserve that right to themselves and prevent this in the future, and prevent rogue state officials like Sheena Bellows from making partisan decisions on behalf of 400,000 or 500,000 people in Maine.
Hold what's called a Section 336 challenge hearing. Both parties come, they present their evidence.
Okay, so there's a hearing, there's an administrative judge. I am unclear whether or not the parties that are challenging Trump's ballot presence have attorneys or not, or how that works. I'm assuming that they do because this is all coordinated. It's a kangaroo proceeding. It's a total sham proceeding. There's no rules of evidence. They can bring in YouTube videos, tweets, hearsay, all kinds of crap. And they just try and throw it at the wall and see what sticks. And, it reminds me actually of some of these gag order proceedings that I have a lot of experience with, where it's so, it's the kangaroo court. They can do anything they want, and if they don't like you, they'll just smash you with whatever decision that they think is most detrimental to your life.
They file briefs. I review only that evidence in the context of the laws, the facts presented.
And then she is able to, or the administrative judge can exclude specific evidence and include any evidence that they want. And that is a real power, I think. And again, I'm unfamiliar and unclear exactly how this works in Maine. I think there's an administrative referee, and then the Secretary of State then reviews that decision.
And the Constitution And then I must make a determination. I'm duty bound to both hold a hearing and make a ruling. And
because I don't think she's presiding directly over that hearing. But again, this could be some sort of like kangaroo rule in Maine, because it's such a small state compared to everyone else in the country.
And under the law, there's a very compressed timeline in evaluating.
Okay, so she said there's a compressed timeline for making a decision. There's a 5-day window. She makes her own rules. She could easily not comply with that 5-day window. But regardless, 5 days is not really that compressed in the grand scheme of things.
This.
Especially when she's got a huge staff ready to assist her in whatever decision that she's... Okay, so Sheena Bells actually held the hearing and presided over it. Interesting. Okay, got it.
I came to the conclusion that I could not.
I want to see Sheena Bellows' full body. You can only see, half. It's almost like, a news anchor. You can only see part of their body. I want to see her like back up a little bit. Maybe there's some pictures on the internet. I know she's really short, so she's probably sitting on some sort of booster chair, because there's a picture of her with Biden. What, Biden is 6 feet or 6'1", and she's tiny. She's like looking up like Biden is a giant, and Biden is like looking down on her like she's a midget. So she's got to be like 5'2" or 5'1".
Unfortunately, or fortunately.
Here's another thing I've noticed with these women, especially in high-powered positions in government. The really short ones almost have something that's akin to a Napoleon complex.
Wait for the United States Supreme Court to make a decision. The Maine law required me to issue that decision, which I did today.
Now, I have to say, not only is this...
So she's breathing pretty heavy here. Like, she knows what she did is historic, and there's a weight on her. And you can see her kind of looking apprehensive into the camera. Like, she's not exactly sure if what she did was the right thing to do.
An incredibly important decision, but it's a very brave decision.
Okay, so now you get this pat on the back from MSNBC claiming that this was a, quote, brave decision. And this is how you know that, yeah, she does look like trailer trash Jennifer Love Hewitt. Let's get a picture of Jennifer Love Hewitt on the stream. I mean, back in the day, J-Love was decent looking. Let's see here. That's probably, oh, right here. Right here, right here. She looks like an older, more trashy version of J-Love. Right, so MSNBC is giving her a reach around for showing up to do this segment.
The Trump campaign has already come out attacking you. They have said that you are a...
Oh, Trump is, quote, attacking her because they're publicly criticizing her conduct, and somehow that's an attack. You notice how this is all language oriented? I mentioned this yesterday. They claim that any criticism is a, quote, attack. You don't hear that much. And you certainly didn't hear that 10 years ago when people would offer counterbalance-based criticism when a certain decision came down and it was a partisan decision. You would hear the other side characterize that conduct as criticism and not, quote, an attack. And I'm assuming she'll say something outrageous like, oh, yes, I'm a victim. I am, I need security.
Virulent leftist and a hyper-partisan Biden-supporting Democrat. It goes without saying that...
So if MSNBC was fair and truthful, they would show the pictures of Bellows with Biden, with Obama, with a bunch of other Democrat officials, which they've all pulled. And they would be like, okay, hey, this seems like a partisan decision. Why are all these pictures out there with you and, God knows who giving each other reach arounds? And, it's really disgusting too when you read the comments, because I think she had a Facebook post. It was her birthday and she went to the White House. And she's like, oh, I was walking around the White House and I was able to meet Biden and it was such a great day. And it is so A, out of touch, and B, real people don't act like that. I think people are genuine and they have their own attitudes. And if you're sort of governing that in a way where you're presenting some false PR or tweet or Facebook post, whatever it is, it seems totally disingenuous. It seems fake. It seems gay. It seems stupid. And whenever, of course, I see stuff like that, I immediately throw that shit in the trash mentally. I memory hole it.
That we all saw what happened on January 6th. We've seen a tremendous amount of violence associated with any time someone...
Okay, so now they're colorizing this as violence on J6, and somehow J6 was a violent insurrection. This is pure propaganda. And I am honestly at a loss for why people can't see it for what it is. Even if you're a liberal Democrat and you support the policies that the Democrats are offering, I don't know how you would not be able to see something like this, like pure propaganda.
Tries to hold Trump accountable. We've seen...
And, it's the same thing with Fox News. I mean, Fox News is propaganda, a lot of it. And I feel the same way about a lot of the segments that come through. And I also criticize it. And I'm not saying I'm a conservative or really liberal. Like, I have some liberal tendencies and I have some mostly conservative or libertarian tendencies. But I think most people are like that. And then putting them in this box where you have to be one or the other is so... these people are liars.
Death threats against the judges in Colorado.
Oh my God. Are you serious? And now they're bringing this in because, again, they don't want anyone to criticize the sham nature of what they're doing. And again, they'll just say that anything is a threat. They'll just say, oh, you were jaywalking. That's a threat. The typo is a threat in a comment. You commented next to someone who made an aggressive comment, therefore yours is by virtue of association, guilt by association, that was a threat. Or they'll say he disagreed or she disagreed with my decision and therefore it's a threat. And I don't know why they play this game. I really don't, because everybody's onto it. Everybody knows exactly what they're doing. They use it as a smokescreen, clearly.
Colorado, was that a concern of yours? And has the state provided you with additional protection and support? I think I saw like a little piece of this before, but I didn't actually listen to the full thing. And I had already known that they were going to bring up this whole thing about her needing security now. It's such a joke. Since you've come down with this decision.
So what they're doing is they're kind of like pre-programming the fact that anybody who disagrees with this is somehow a threat, and that Trump supporters and even, a lot of the, quote, Caucasian men or women who support Trump are white supremacists.
First and foremost, it's important to know my oath to the Constitution, my obligations to the Constitution and rule of law.
She's not reading the Constitution. I don't know what Constitution she's reading. Is she reading something that came out just recently?
Before any other consideration.
Someone should release some sort of like parody Constitution on Amazon like direct to Kindle or something, with a new modified, amended, ratified constitution based on the decisions by Jenna Griswold and Sheena Bellows.
No other factors could weigh on that decision and did not. I'm very fortunate. We are very fortunate here in Maine. We have terrific support from law enforcement, both within my department, from the Maine Capitol Police, the Maine State Police. I feel well protected, as I have been for my entire time as secretary.
So she looks down. She doesn't look very comfortable in this interview, does she?
So,
and I say that like she's not like a natural public speaker, and I'm frankly not a natural public speaker either, but there has to be more to why she was appointed as Secretary of State. There's got to be some backstory here, because, you know, some people are sort of like from central casting. You just know that they're the right fit for a certain position, and she's not. Jenna Griswold, to some extent, is. She can be a little bit outgoing. At least she seems relatively well articulate, you know, when she's giving interviews, unlike me. And Jenna Griswold was elected. She wasn't appointed. Whereas there's got to be some, like, someone's got to do some digging on, like, maybe her family. And a lot of this stuff, especially in Maine and New Hampshire and Vermont, the way that these individuals get appointed to these positions is usually through their family. Like, maybe her grandfather was really well connected. Maybe her grandfather was a high-level political official in Maine and knew a lot of people and wanted to pull some strings for the granddaughter, Sheena, here. There's got to be some backstory here.
I have to ask this because I think this also speaks to your credibility. Maine has some of the highest turnout of any state in the union. I mean, Republicans, Democrats, independents. You have, you know, Maine, even though as a state tends to vote for Democrats for president, you have one independent senator and one Republican. How do you do it? How do you get such high turnout in the state amongst all sort of political partisans?
I smiled because we were #1 in voter turnout per capita in 2022. We are really proud of that. And we have a really strong framework of election laws that encourage citizen participation. We have same-day voter registry.
I dated a woman from Maine, I think back in, a while ago, maybe 15 years ago, and she was a lawyer. She also has a PhD. She went to Princeton, and she was tiny. She was like 5 feet tall, and she lives out there now, but she like doesn't do anything. She's Ivy League educated. She's a lawyer. She has a PhD, and she literally doesn't do anything. And she just reminds me of Sheena Bellows so much, and I'm actually kind of surprised that they didn't put someone more of a natural fit, I think, into this particular position than Sheena Bellows, because everybody is laughing right now at Bellows, and no one really is coming to her defense. Of course, MSNBC is, but, you know, is Jenna Griswold coming to her defense? Maybe she is, maybe she isn't, but I haven't seen it yet. And based on what I just said, maybe she will, but I don't see a lot of people, like a large contingent of people coming and saying, hey, you know, oh, this decision was really great. Even CNN, again, I mentioned Ellie Koenig was dumping on this decision, like dumping hard.
We have no excuse absentee voting up to 30 days prior to Election Day. We make it really easy to register to vote, to cast your ballot, and know your ballot will be counted. And we're really proud of our national leadership in voter participation and citizen engagement in elections and in the democratic process. And that's why we take so seriously our obligations to the Constitution and the rule of law.
Secretary Bellows, there are people all over the country, independent groups, other secretaries of state, you know, judges, legislators, lawyers who are watching you right now. are you expecting to, or have you prior to this decision, has anyone reached out to you? Have other secretaries of state reached out to you and said, hey, how did you, I'm struggling with this. Could you help me as well? Or
here's a suggestion to coordinate in their RICO conspiracy a little bit more. Has anyone else reached out to you? Stuff like that.
This is a decision that you're saying, hey, everything that I think is in this written decision, and I'm not really open to providing, counsel or assistance to any.
Do you think, the real question here, anonymous sources, do you think that this anchor, whatever his name is, actually read the decision before doing this interview with Sheena Bellows?
Any other states that may be struggling with this issue?
That's really important. The latter is the case. This decision is based on Maine law and the facts that were presented to me in the Section 336 challenge. It was really important.
Kind of looks like they gave her a corner office. It looks misshaped almost because you have this sort of pillar here in the middle. It's weird.
Important to me to look at the evidence presented in the public hearing and the law and the facts presented in the context of Maine law.
Here's the other weird thing is you don't see any mess on her desk. I mean, even the Resolute desk in the Oval Office, you'll see pens and papers and, I realize that aides clean it right before they do some sort of photo op. But for someone like Sheena Bellows, there's not even a water bottle on the desk. It just seems almost staged and fabricated.
Section.
I want to see a Secretary of State with some Panera on the desk. I want, like a Coke can or something, Dr. Pepper, Mountain, whatever they're, water, a LaCroix can, the water LaCroix, or some can, whatever. They're actually working. It doesn't appear as though your girl Sheena Bellows is actually doing any work.
It's 336, 337, and 443. It's a very detailed decision. We lay out why under Maine law.
It is detailed, which is totally, I think, as I mentioned, probably really stupid of her to have done when she could have just said, Colorado decision, Trump is not on the primary ballot. That's it. 2 sentences.
Secretary of State has the authority, indeed the obligation. I'm duty bound to make this.
Now, if you actually logically break down what she just said, that she has an obligation to take Trump off the ballot. Maybe this is some Freudian slip. I mean, I just glanced over that Maine state law and I didn't see any obligation there that connected that obligation to taking a candidate off the ballot based on anything related to the 14th Amendment, an insurrection, or whether or not, their name is Donald Trump. I didn't see it. Did you?
This determination. I laid out that the record demonstrates that, in fact, the events of January 6, 2021, which were unprecedented and tragic, were an insurrection. In the meaning of.
And she's resting this definition on the professor from the University of Indiana University School of Law. It's a woman named Maglioka. And I think they devoted something like 4 pages to the law professor explaining why she believes that January 6th was an insurrection. To make findings in this way based off of the recommendation off of Professor Maglioka seems far-fetched.
Section 3 of the 14th Amendment. And finally, in reviewing the facts presented, the evidence, the law, the history, we determined under Section 3 of the 14th Amendment that Mr. Trump engaged in insurrection, and therefore.
The other thing is she's not addressing Trump as President Trump. She says, Mr. Trump. So, you know, that's definitely pretty insulting coming from her. So I would recommend calling her Miss Bellows. Don't address her by her official title.
Was disqualified.
So one of the things that you mentioned is that since anyone within a certain period of time can challenge a candidate's eligibility, you had people present the case that Trump should be off the ballot. And obviously you had people present the case that Trump should remain on the ballot, right? You had people from both sides making this argument. So here's my...
Not really. There was a challenge, and I think Trump's lawyers went in and objected. I think they cited in the range of 5 or 10 objections. I'd have to go... Actually, we'd have to find those in the decision. But, I mean, it was not really a fair hearing. It's not like they brought in anybody. And again, I'm unfamiliar and unclear on how this administrative proceeding works, whether or not they could bring in rebuttal witnesses, essentially, to rebut any of the allegations made by these challengers.
My question, and I wonder if this sort of came up because it's always something I've questioned about sort of the Trump argument. Donald Trump claims that he was elected in 2020 and that the election was stolen from him. I mean, my understanding of the Constitution is if you've already been elected twice, you're not allowed to serve again.
This is another interesting issue raised in this decision. One of the challengers didn't cite the 14th Amendment. It was a lawyer in Maine, and they cited 22nd Amendment, which I believe sets forward the rule that a president can only hold office for 2 terms. And they're saying because President Trump claims that he won the 2020 election, he is therefore ineligible for the ballot because he's actually already served 2 terms. And Miss Bellows had responded to that argument in her decision and declined it. And then there was another there was a recusal request as well that came in, and she claimed that it was time barred. But despite the fact that she said that it was time barred, she claimed that she's a impartial and unbiased decision maker, which again is clown world level nonsense.
You know, how did you deal with some of the arguments that you heard from the Trump side? And do they have an opportunity to appeal if they're unhappy with your decision?
So here's the thing. I don't think she actually mentions that here. And I'm surprised because she should have brought up the 22nd Amendment. And if she did, in fact, write that decision, which is unlikely, she would probably have those thoughts ready to go here. But I don't think she does.
Certainly. Mr. Trump was represented by counsel. This was an administrative hearing. I was serving not as an advocate, but an adjudicator, as an administrative hearing officer in the hearing. And Paul Gordon was one of the 3 challengers who brought a challenge, and he brought it under the 22nd Amendment, alleging that because Mr. Trump has said publicly that he won in 2020, that he was disqualified from appearing on.
Okay, so here's where the rules of evidence comes in too, because if President Trump claimed publicly in a tweet or in various media interviews, which he has, that he won in 2020, is that admissible in this administrative hearing? And she should have swatted that out if she was a fair decision maker presiding over this administrative hearing.
On the ballot under the 22nd Amendment. My decision also found that the facts were not in dispute. No party suggested that Mr. Trump had in fact won in 2020, and the 22nd Amendment did not apply in this case. There were other challenges brought by Marianne Royal and by a group of former senators.
Okay, so no, she did have kind of a hold on actually what happened, so I'm wrong.
Republican state senator former Republican State Senator Kimberly Rosen, former Republican State Senator Thomas Saviello, former Democratic State Senator Ethan Strimling, and those challenges were brought under Section 3 of the 14th Amendment. And that is where my ruling did, in fact, find that Mr. Trump was not qualified for ballot access in Maine.
Maine Secretary of State Shenna Bellows, thank you so much for the serious work. I hope you stay safe, and I hope you stay committed to the work that you're doing for this country. Thank you.
Thank you.
Work doing for this country. Right. Sure thing. Okay, well, let me just check quickly here. Bros. Bros. Okay, so what's going on here? There's a bunch of storms that hit California, and they're complaining about the waves. And I don't know if, again, they're trying to like set the tone of climate change here or what, but this kind of came out of left field. Have no idea. I wonder if Miss Bellows supports Gaza or supports Israel. They're doing these rogue arms deals through the State Department, I believe. They have some sort of black pool of money that they can authorize the deployment of these weapon systems at will whenever they want, which is, of course, unconstitutional as well. But you don't see Republicans stepping up because it's Israel and no one will challenge arms sales to Israel. Except now that's pissing off a lot of these pro-Hamas, anti-Israel protesters, especially in New York, who had previously voted for Biden but are now sort of disenfranchised themselves because they realize that Biden is a paycheck for Israel and Ukraine. All right. We got a zillion more explosions in Ukraine. Obviously, the escalation intensified over the past few days when Ukraine hit that ship that was carrying a bunch of tanks with new F-16s they got. And so, of course, Russia's going to respond with a bunch of missiles and drones into Ukraine. I think it was the highest number of missiles that actually went in, for the duration of the entire war, actually. So we got that. Who knows what's going to happen in Ukraine? That'll probably create World War III. We got California continuing to be turned into a crackhead state. This is from the Arizona Republic. God, fucking ads. California slaps a new minimum wage on fast food, and fast food slaps back. A lot of these fast food chains have now laid off all of their gig workers. You know, back in the day, this is a high school job, or it was a side job you took for a few hours a week to make, some scratch with tips. That's it. And they've made this into a full-time job for people trying to survive, especially the illegal immigrants in California. And then they just say, fuck you. We can't pay your minimum wage, California, so we're just going to lay everybody off. We also have, I think, 50% of companies that were surveyed said that they were going to lay off workers. So these are all the signals and the signs Yeah, here we go. Let me pull this up here. Google may lay off 30,000 employees as AI improves operational efficiency. No. We have Sundar Pichai, whatever his name is. Who's the CEO of Google again? Sundar Pichai. Sundar Pichai. Sundar. I'm going to call him Sundar. As soon as the Indians take over tech, which they pretty much have at this point, because every single major tech company is commanded by an Indian CEO, then we get into this sort of mass layoff game and the economy tanks, and then they turn it into like a body shop for Indians. I bet you at this point, at least 50% of the workers at Google are Indian H-1Bs or friends of friends, crony workers, crony capitalism. And so now we have layoffs because, of course, we have kind of this indentured servitude situation, which I've been explaining that not many people are bringing light to, but now it's finally coming out, especially with the O'Keefe stuff, James O'Keefe with IBM and the DEI crap that they've been playing for so many years. And I think they were getting away with this before DEI actually became a thing, because I've been working in tech for a long time, and I would say in any environment, unless the security clearance is involved, all the corporate situations, if you go into Target, you go into General Mills, you go into Best Buy, all their tech floors are at least 50% Indian. And they're flown in from places like Mumbai or Delhi. I'm forgetting all the places in India because I really don't care. And now that they're led by Indians, boom, you get 30,000 people laid off. There was a survey, as I mentioned earlier, that 50% of companies are going to do mass layoffs in 2024 because the economy is so bad. And that's really consistent with, I think, what everyone is seeing. I'm going to pull up some of those articles. Hold on. Oh, here we go. Here's a Newsweek article. So get ready. Your job's going to be automated by AI. Apparently, again, they're blame shifting all this on AI. It's really not. It's really an intentional and deliberate process to set people up for either a CBDC, a social credit score, make them increasingly dependent on the government, make them accept lower wages, blame shift from their own failures onto AI, stuff like that. And this isn't really a fundamental structural shift in society as a whole. Rather, it's a consolidation of power. So massive layoffs are coming in 2024. This is an article that was issued December 27, 2023. Okay, so Resume Builder, it's a small website, but it still has a large enough, I think, scope into the pulse of the country and hiring practices that I think that it can give a somewhat accurate picture to predict, what 2024 might actually be like for corporate workers. So nearly 4 in 10 companies said they're likely to lay off workers in 2024, prompting increased fears of a recession around the corner. Now, the Biden administration is touting the fact that the stock market is at an all-time high, and everybody knows the reason why that is it's because of inflation. As the money supply increases, which it has dramatically over the past 3 to 5 years, especially in the last 2 years since the pandemic, we've seen the price of goods, the price of services skyrocket, and the stock market will inflate in a similar rate that goods and services increases. And that's really one of the main reasons and the main drivers behind the stock market. So it's sort of an artificial monetary situation created through increasing money supply. More than half of companies said they plan to implement a hiring freeze in 2024. That's interesting, right? I wish so they talk about Google, right? They're really going after Google. But I wish they would identify some of the other companies that they're talking about here. There's so many ads. Oh, is that an ad? I have no idea. Amazon employees and supporters gathered during a walkout protest in Seattle. Here's the other kicker to this, is that you have these idiots, these assholes, like at Amazon, right, the headquarters, and they do these ridiculous protests, trans rights or climate change. These are the first people who are going to get fired. Who wants to work with these dweebs who are going to go out and protest or climate change when we have people literally dying here in this country? We have a fentanyl epidemic. We have zombies on the street in Pennsylvania and places like Ohio. You drive through Cincinnati, you go to a McDonald's, and you'll see at least 5 to 10 drug addicts, veterans who need help. And it actually does frustrate. It pisses me off. It's like, they're getting paid X number of dollars, especially at Amazon. They have a good salary, and they're sitting here wasting their time protesting for something that doesn't really even impact their lives. It's so disconnected. And I feel like they've been brainwashed to such a point that they don't even care about the fellow citizen who's struggling with a drug problem, or the fact that we have huge problems right now, and we're really on the verge of a civil war, as I've mentioned many times. But it's frustrating. Who will be laid off first? Good question. So sales is always laid off first. Everyone knows that. Engineers typically in corporations are laid off somewhere near the last leg, unless they've become publicly recognizable. Construction and software companies were by far the most likely to predict layoffs, in the next year, at 66 and 65% respectively. That's interesting. Now, I'm kind of surprised about the construction situation. I wonder if that's because financing has dried up. Anonymous source, is that the reason, if you're still watching? Software companies, obviously they blame shifted onto AI when they just really want to consolidate power and money in these huge tech companies. I would say that Amazon must be struggling because, Amazon doesn't innovate at all. You think with the massive war chest they have that they would start innovating. Kindle is not an innovation. The space company that Jeff Bezos created isn't really doing much, but that's not really Amazon. I'm talking about Amazon itself. Even, if you look at the embedded technologies that Tesla has created, like the augmented reality for vehicle vision, that's all very, very innovative. The stainless steel that the Cybertruck uses, all extremely innovative. Even the tires, all the sensors that the package surrounding all the Tesla vehicles uses, extremely innovative, sophisticated. But then you compare and contrast that with Amazon, and you're really not seeing much. Back in the day, I'm talking maybe 8-9 years ago, I worked at this online retailer called Bluestem Brands, fingerhut.com. If you go to fingerhut.com right now, sign in button, I created that based off of how Amazon had its sign in button. So, this wasn't my decision, by the way. This was part of the requirement for the story. We just kind of took a mock-up of what Amazon was doing and then did something similar but slightly different. And I looked at it and I used the same sort of timing situation, because it's like 10 seconds if you're not already signed in, that the little pop-up will show and it will kind of remind you to sign in, and then it will, after 10 seconds, if you don't click it, it will basically go away, but then it'll just be the smaller sign in button in the corner. And so I had kind of studied some of the tactics or the strategies that Amazon was doing just from like a pure UI software perspective at that level 8 years ago. And then you go to Amazon today and they have the exact same UI. I look at it and I'm surprised. They're not innovating. I know that they've tried the Echo speaker, which was a huge flop. People were strongly opposed to the privacy concerns. But, you know, Apple seems to innovate. I wouldn't say that they innovate at the level that Tesla is doing. Google is still kind of churning out some innovation, although not as much as they could be. They've become bloated. They probably do need to lay off a lot of people. The other problem with Google that I've noticed is that they'll hire engineers with PhDs from places like Ohio State or the University of Southern California. And these guys are all foreigners. Now, our universities, just like all the other institutions in this country, have been captured and corrupted, where they will bypass American citizens, as we've talked about on the stream repeatedly, in favor of foreigners. And I think it's this globalist brain drain thing. That's how they sell it, but that's really actually not the truth. And when these foreigners graduate from their PhD programs, places like Romania or even Ukraine back in the day, Russia, a lot of Indians, Chinese, they'll get a job at Google. They'll get directly recruited. And it seems like Google wants to, you know, pick these people up really quickly, hire them, give them huge salaries. There's a guy I know who works at Google on search. He's got a PhD from USC. And he makes upwards of $450,000 a year, plus he has stock options. He's a millionaire. He's 28, maybe 30. The wealth of this country is being stolen from Americans. Absolutely stolen. And they're not innovating in the same way that Americans innovate. You know, Americans do things because of urgency and because of the fact that we're Americans and we're willing to break rules. We're willing to get things done. We can communicate fairly well amongst each other. But you don't have that with foreigners coming in, corrupting our academic institutions. And there's obviously a reason that they do this. One is they have an indentured servant. They'll do anything they're told. And they've also, obviously, as we mentioned previously, someone like Sofia Vuelo who's an illegal immigrant, came in this country, acts like a victim, gets a job or a role on the Ramsey County Court. And although that court itself and courts around Minnesota haven't been fully captured by illegal immigrants, this is the start of something really, really bad, because once more and more of these illegal immigrants take over these court systems, they're going to bring in more and more tyranny. They don't respect the Constitution, and this is also a Democrat thing, but they don't respect the Constitution. They don't respect due process. They don't respect the Judeo-Christian values that this country is founded on, yada, yada, yada. So we are seeing that. We've seen it for a long time, but it's just going to get worse and worse and worse. And I think we're really at this sort of juncture right now, especially everybody is seeing what's going on with the elections and trying to keep Trump off the ballot. This isn't about Trump. This is about what this country has been going through for the last 15, 20, 25 years. And this fundamental transformation is not working out the way that I think that they had originally envisioned it. And it's a real problem. And it's a real problem for millennials. It's a real problem for Zoomers. And, we're trying to do things to stop it, but I don't think we have the real human capital. We don't have the buy-in from enough people where I think people are willing to do something to stop it. I am willing to do stuff. People have seen it. I'm willing to step up and put my life on the line, literally put my life on the line. And I don't see other people doing that. Generally speaking, at scale, I think to prevent, we see more and more, like, especially women, mothers stepping up, moms of liberty, going into these school boards. But school boards is one thing. That's one very micro form of local deep state government that has been captured for many, many years and now is kind of in the process of being unpacked and unraveled and neutralized. But we have so many other areas, I think, that need also to be investigated and unpacked, unraveled, and neutralized. When I say neutralized, I mean in the form of not being an extremist partisan committee, communist committee, not neutralized in any other definition of the word. So instead of being, left, right, just, let's have some firm decision. Let's respect people. Let's respect individual liberty again. Let's allow freedom. Okay, so let's continue with this article. I went on a tangent there. Wow, interesting. So to determine if your job is in jeopardy will likely require you to analyze your own performance at the company, the survey indicates. I think to determine if your job is in jeopardy, the first thing you need to do is to see if there are H-1Bs or illegal immigrants or just immigrants in general working in your field, and then you're fucked. Okay. Now, I'm wondering why Newsweek is pre-programming the fact that this is all driven by AI. I mean, I would agree that AI has made some things easier, especially in corporate America, but this blame shift, I don't think, is responsible or appropriate. And obviously, this was highly driven by the editorial process at Newsweek. Probably came down from, BlackRock, Larry Fink. If your job can be easily replaced by current AI technology, though, it might be time to worry. Okay, so they're kind of planting the seed that every single job eventually is going to be taken over by AI. It's terrifying, isn't it? Wow, I mean, they're just going crazy, blaming AI with every single sentence. Stephen Shizen, California-based employment attorney, said layoffs are typically based on some combination of business need, job redundancy, and performance, but there are still steps you can take to make your departure from your company less likely. Oh, how comforting. Right, so now it's always the worker's fault. It's the worker's fault, according to Shizen. How can I make myself indispensable? I don't know, owning the company? I think that's really, at this point, the only way that you can make yourself indispensable, because you need to be the decision maker to decide whether or not you are going to be laid off. Okay, so now they're kind of pre-programming the fact that layoffs are inevitable. Yep. Oh, and you better update your LinkedIn profile. Employees who do wind up being fired will likely be forced to rely on savings, but many Americans are without the necessary cushion, according to Michael Stralovitz, the director of Elfinworks Center for Responsible Business and a professor at St. Mary's College of California. Although we are all told to have enough savings as a cushion in case things like this happen, very few people have such a cushion, Stralovitz told Newsweek. Shocker. The median savings balance for Americans is $5,000, $5,300. according to recent numbers from the Federal Reserve. That amount can quickly be depleted in a month or two, though, when considering housing, grocery, and childcare costs. Duh. Thanks for telling me, Captain Obvious. Even those who are not laid off may find their workload increasing, as often the duties performed by those laid off end up in the laps of those who remain. Duh. Thank you for telling me what I already know. Why are you putting this in this article? It's unnecessary. This could have been deleted. It's also extremely bad for morale to be at a company with layoffs, even if you're not one of the people laid off. It's sad. It's painful to watch colleagues you like working with being laid off. Well, I don't know. Also, probably could be deleted from the article. Ooh. How often do you see this correction, by the way? I don't see this as much. Maybe Newsweek is doing this more. Okay, so the economy is tanked. I read this other story here too, that I kind of wanted to touch on, which is the fact that India banned a couple of altcoins. I think, let me just bring this up, and I want to talk a little bit about Bitcoin as well, and how it potentially could be obsolete in the coming years, because everybody's hyping up Bitcoin right now, and you can see that, you know, they have major ownings of Bitcoin, and that's one reason they're trying to hype it. But another reason is I don't think they understand how obsolete Bitcoin can become in the next 10 years if there's a major breakthrough with quantum computing, and the wallet encryption can be broken with things like Shor's algorithm or other encryption standards. And I know that there's a lot of research, and I think they released a couple of encryption proof algorithms, they say, that could potentially be the next step forward. But you could easily see Bitcoin, the whole blockchain, being cracked by, and every single wallet being cracked by some form of quantum computing in the next 10 years. And again, this could be an inside job. It could be the government doing it. It could be a way for the government to usher in a CBDC by effectively stealing everyone's money that they have in Bitcoin. So everybody hyping up Bitcoin, I think, needs to understand that it potentially is not, you know, a silver bullet to economic instability. It really isn't. Especially given the fact that there's been a lot of investment, especially considering that the US government really wants to win this quantum computing battle with China. And they've invested a lot of resources, and some of it's pretty secret actually, at some of these national labs. Like Oak Ridge, for example. They have, I think, an early quantum computer down there. I could be wrong, but they're doing a lot of research related to it, so they're kind of getting it ready, setting up the foundation for it. And if I were a betting man, I think that that's one of the first things that they would try and do, is try and sort of test out whether or not they can break some of the wallet encryption with Bitcoin. So, right, as I was saying, India to ban 9 crypto exchanges, Binance being the big one, KuCoin, oh wow, Kraken as well. This is big. This is huge. Bitfinex, Bitstamp, Huobi. That's huge news, actually. When did this come out? A couple days ago? Fuck. No. it came out today. Yeah, interesting. So I wonder why India wants to consolidate power with crypto. I think that they want to read full story. Okay, so they're claiming that these potentially would violate their new or pre-existing anti-money laundering law. And let me compare this to what? Okay, so this, if you look at this, what India is doing and what Elizabeth Warren is trying to do, she's always barking at all these CEOs of banks in the banking committee. Like she ruined, what's his phrase from Wells Fargo, ruined his career. A couple executives just destroyed them. I mean, they have plenty of money, so it's not a big deal, but still. John Stumpf was the Wells Fargo CEO that Elizabeth Warren effectively threw down a well in that hearing. And he came in there like with a broken arm too. Okay, so this is from December 11th. Warren expands coalition of banking committees support for bill cracking down on crypto's use in money laundering, drug trafficking, and sanctions evasion. And they're trying to wrap this under the umbrella, I think, of a lot of these sanctions against Russian officials and saying that they're trying to evade the sanctions by using cryptocurrencies. And this is very dangerous here because what they're trying to do in terms of regulating cryptocurrencies, the government is setting the foundation here for, of course, you got these radical left-wing senators from Minnesota, Tina Smith, I bet you Klobuchar's in here as well, who are supporting this initiative to effectively surveil and monitor every single cryptocurrency transaction. All these altcoins are going to be under this umbrella. So Direct FinCEN, which is the financial enforcement arm, I think, of the Treasury. We can look at this. Yep. The Financial Crimes Enforcement Network, FinCEN. Oh, FinCEN. Now, one of the reasons that banking is relatively stable is because all banking transactions are implicitly surveilled and monitored on a ledger in a bank. When the settlement process happens, funds are either debited or credited depending on what the transaction is and what account it's coming from and what account it's going to, right? In the settlement process that allows for all of this to work. And we have a Federal Reserve digital transaction network called ACH, the Automated Clearinghouse. And so anything you do is already monitored, right? And that's one reason that our banking system is stable to some degree. I mean, obviously it's been unstable with respect to the recent bank closures that we've seen, like the Silicon Valley Bank and so forth, because of other economic overarching policies. But I'm just talking specifically about kind of the structure of banking itself. And people, citizens of this country, for one reason or another, have accepted it. I mean, what are you going to do? I am only one person among 350 million people. How can I stop this? You know, you can't. You can advocate against it. And that's actually a bad attitude to take. I think one person can stop it. But I think you understand my sentiment here, which is that it's, you know, nearly impossible, right? So everything you do is effectively monitored when you make a transaction, unless it's cash. Now, or, you know, there's ways around it. I mean, gift cards are one way. I mean, you know, we go on for days about stuff like that, but I'm just talking about traditional transactions. And if you go back here to this Elizabeth Warren bill, what she's trying to do is direct FinCEN, which is that enforcement arm of the Treasury, to issue guidance to financial institutions on mitigating the risks of handling, using, or transacting with digital assets that have been anonymized using digital asset mixers and other anonymity enhancing technologies. This is really poorly worded. The aide who wrote this probably should rephrase this a little bit, but if you bring up altcoins like Monero, which is a privacy coin, there are tools that have been publicly released, I believe that the NSA has, that can crack a Monero blockchain to uncover the parties associated with specific transactions. And we could look at the API for Monero and figure out its proof of work to find out, exactly how it's anonymizing the transactions, yada, yada, yada. But what they ultimately want to do is make it so that you can't use these kinds of coins, and even more so, just the regular altcoins that, if an enforcement agency like FinCEN wants to go in and figure out who is making those transactions and who is receiving them, it wouldn't be that hard. It's just kind of obfuscated a little bit for the regular person to go in. I know there's ledgers online that you can go in and see blockchains and look at wallet IDs and so forth, but it's somewhat obfuscated so that you can't just get it without doing a little bit of work. And I think that's what people have felt more reasonable about, at least online, when doing certain transactions. And what these rules actually do in this regulation that Senator Warren has proposed would, and you got this Kansas Senator Marshall on this too, which is sickening. I think he was at the Republican Club in New York a couple of weeks ago prior to Christmas. And here he is signing on with Elizabeth Warren to stalk and surveil all of your cryptocurrency transactions, which is it's pretty sickening. Okay, so yep, of course Jake Sullivan's involved, right? Of course. And I think what they want to do is they want to be able to basically anonymize their arms deals to these Ukrainian, launder money, but they don't want you to be able to do that. Not that anybody would do that, but I'm saying they want to make sure that they can surveil you, but they're able to use these financial channels to do whatever deal that they want. But yeah, so this is a big deal. I don't know the status of this particular bill, but I want to go back to the Indian stuff, and because India is actually implementing it, and they have more of Modi has more of an ability, I think, to push through some of this legislation in India quickly, whereas I think we have a little bit more of a give and take kind of constitutional system. Anyways, so yeah, they're going to ban a bunch of this crap, and now all this is going to be a consolidation of power, and they're going to set the landscape for a CBDC, a central bank digital currency, and who knows what they're going to do to bring this in. Obviously, they're going to try and crack all these Bitcoin wallets using quantum computing, using things like Shor's algorithm or whatever. Eventually, when they get something high-powered enough in the form of a hybrid quantum classical computer to actually do this. And they're probably going to hook it up to a large data center. And it's terrifying. It's actually very scary. And if I were a betting man, I think that they would probably use this in concert with a couple other tools in the advent that they actually do want to force a CBDC on people. And of course, how governments usually operate is they slowly and gradually change a bureaucracy over time. That's kind of the preferred method, right? Instead of just suddenly changing it. But what we're seeing recently, and if we're judging based on what we've seen recently, just like a Markov chain, right? Like you predict the future based on the status or the state of the most previous last event. That is what a blockchain is. That's what Bitcoin is based off of. So using the same sort of analogy or metaphor, they're going to use something sharp, immediate, fundamentally, structurally coercive to quickly and suddenly take down the banking system, take down Bitcoin, take down altcoins, and they're going to say that the reason they have to do this is because of like anti-money laundering, cyber attacks, like or a world war of sorts or something. And I'm just theorizing here, but I'm just trying to connect all the dots, right? What I'm seeing in India and what I'm seeing with Elizabeth Warren and what I'm seeing with Feinstein and the Treasury getting more active here. Okay. What time is it? It's 11:35. I've been going for about an hour and 45 minutes. I would encourage anyone out there who is listening to comment. I'm gonna look at anything right now. There's 5 people watching on Rumble. I'd encourage anyone watching also to subscribe. I'm gonna play this Ice Poseidon clip again to end the stream, unless something else quickly comes up.
Of course.
Because all people is parano. Because Interpol don't say who is it, you know?
I mean, we only got scammed a little bit, but it's all right. I got it.
Dude, that guy started speeding.
I know. And you're right, Carl.
Oh, Allison Greenfield in St. Bart's.
Ah, j'ai payé 100 € pour venir ici, les gars.
Are you the Americans?
Hey, what's up? Yeah.
We had written you off. Ça va?
This man is crazy.
Took us a long time to get here.
Well, because, I don't know.
Ah, finish what?
Ça va, ça va?
Not bonjour.
Bonsoir, I didn't say...
High on
Ça va?
coke.
Okay.
Drunk as a
Hello.
skunk.
This man is crazy.
Hi,
It's very, very scary because you can see a group of people here in the background and what they're doing with this this event. You know, who knows?
Desiree.
Hi, Desiree.
What's your
Paul.
name?
Nice to meet
Hi,
you.
Paul. Nice to meet you.
Hey, how are you? I'm Carl.
Hi, Carl. Who did I talk to on the phone?
That was me.
Okay.
What part of America are you from?
I was
The UNICEF event. What was it? The Child Rescue Coalition.
born in Florida. I lived in New York for 11 years, and I am here. What about you guys?
Born in Florida.
Suddenly, she realizes that she's being videoed here by Ice Poseidon because Ice Poseidon is a streamer.
I live in Texas.
Are your
Okay.
parents French or something? Or
Oh,
no, you just decided.
this is off, right?
Oh, and then she gets very frightened here, demanding that the camera turns off.
No. I mean,
Definitely needs to go.
oh, really?
I can pull out a couple
And then Ice gets defensive,
of NDAs so we can handle this properly.
and then threatening NDAs. And Ice is like, what?
But,
Oh, no, I don't want to do all that. I mean,
yeah, let's just turn it off.
Yeah.
well, I was under the impression that.
And then again, if we go back to the Reddit, right here, Ice returns after the event to say that she threatened to sue him and said things like, "Do you know who I am? And what can I do to you? And what I can do to you." Sorry. You know, if Greenfield is doing this to Trump, what do you think she would do to Ice? All right, I'll see you tomorrow. Just checking quickly. Nope. Okay. Have a good rest of your night. Bye.
Thanks for watching Command HQ with Brooke and Agent X. We'll see